And tonight on our Great American panel, he was White House political director under President George W. Bush. Matt Schlapp is back. He was a former pollster for President Jimmy Carter, an advisor to George McGovern's presidential campaign. Fox News contributor, the one and only Pat Goodell. She became famous for her work as an advocate for people impacted tragically by environmental contamination, and her new novel is called Rock Bottom. Erin Brockovich is with us. I love the movie about you. What a fascinating life you've led, and we're honored to have you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, let's start. Here we've had radical Islamic terrorism. We had 9/11, when the USS Cole, the embassy bombings, Kenya, Tanzania. We can go on and on. 9/11 Commission report. They're at war with us. We're not at war with them. Peter King is looking into radical Islam in our country. And here is some of the reaction. This is Representative Keith Ellison talking about King.
Well, it's a disturbing use of a congressional hearing. I mean, there's awesome power associated with being the chairman of a committee and able to investigate and do oversight, and to use it to essentially go after a religious minority group, I think it's a scary proposition.
What's our biggest threat, Matt? Radical Islamic terrorism. Well, not Islam, radical Islamists.
That's right. It's not a war on terror. It's a war against jihadists. And the deputy national security advisor to President Obama was at a mosque last week, and he said al-Qaeda is using the American Muslim community and through mosques to recruit and radicalize new terrorists. So really what Peter King is doing is just following up what's coming out of the National Security
Something maybe we should have done 20 years earlier?
Right.
Well, yeah, Janet Napolitano said the greatest threat now, finally, after 2 years, are homegrown terrorists. Well, who are they? This is not an attack on religion, but I'm so amazed at this PC pushback. I mean, we had someone arrested in Texas a few weeks ago.
They wouldn't even call the Fort Hood massacre.
I was going to say
these guys killed in Germany. Same thing.
Same thing. And you know, I've been working with this new group, Secure America Now, and the whole idea is let's deal honestly and nonpartisanly. These are serious security matters. This is a serious problem, and this political correctness, and also some of the people doing this. You know, when you have groups that have been indicted for being co-conspirators, this is a real problem.
You're talking about CARE?
CARE. I'm talking about CARE. I mean, this notion that we cannot deal honestly. No one's attacking all Muslims. This is about people trying to kill us.
Oh, I agree with some of the comments, and I try to think of it just simply, I don't want to make it an attack on any one particular group, but I think of myself at home with my children, and if there's an intruder on the outside. I mean, I'm clearly want to assess the situation, but if I feel that it becomes a threat that could jeopardize me and or my children, I'm going to defend against that, no matter
you'd be pretty,
who.
watching
No
Julia Roberts play you, I think it'd be
Yeah.
a pretty fierce defense. I better not mess with you.
No matter who it is.
Yeah.
But
here's the problem. I want to go back to Matt. There is a fear. There is a trepidation, a timidness in this White House. They seem scared to death to recognize the obvious. We are at war with radical Islamists.
That's right.
That's it. They want to impose Sharia law on the world, especially the United States, and institute a caliphate.
No, there's no question about it. And I think Peter King ought to be praised for what he's doing. We have plenty of patriotic.
They're calling him McCarthy.
Yeah, we have plenty of patriotic Muslims out there. But let me tell you, Sean, how many times did Democratic majorities have hearings about radicalized Christians, about the militias? I mean, this concept that people that have done things that have emanated sometimes from a religious point of view, that doesn't make it fair to try to weed out terrorists within our midst.
When we had the mafia, that didn't mean we were attacking all Italian Americans. And the same argument was used to try to turn those hearings off. This is amazing, and the unwillingness to say what is in front of you.
Is the president cowardly? Is the president timid? Is the president afraid to deal with this, Erin?
Good for you. You get this one. Go for it.
Come on.
Oh, gee. Yeah, no, let me pass
I know
it
what your
this way.
Kansas
you know what my
roots would tell you to
Kansas
say.
boots are going to say.
The president's
again,
timid. He
I
can't
think
acknowledge a war on terror. Isn't that what the truth is?
We need to look at it, and I'll go back to what I said.
I think Barack Obama's timid. I think he's gutless. And this, man-caused disasters, overseas contingency operation. You know what? It's putting all of us in a state of vulnerability. We got to take a break, though. We'll come back more with our great American panel straight ahead. All right. Time now to reveal the results of tonight's text vote. Now, we asked if you could afford 4 more years of President Obama. 6% of you said yes. 94% of you said no. 0% were not sure. Thanks to everyone who voted. And as you can tell, Matt, we have a you're the Democrat. We have a very intelligent audience.
Yes.
Can we afford 4 more years of Obama?
To me?
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what we can't afford is, unfortunately, is this health care bill.
No. I didn't ask you that. I asked,
Yes or no?
No, can we?
can we afford 4 years
I'm
more
not gonna-
years of Obama? He's accumulated nearly $5 trillion in debt.
We do another year or two of this, and let me tell you, another 10 years of this, we won't have a country. And it's just that we're not. Our children. Won't
That's
have
how
a
I
country.
feel. And I'm
Yes.
Are the Republicans being timid?
But they're all to blame for this.
Wait, 61. No one's as bad as him. No,
That may be, but
I
they're
don't
all
buy
to blame.
Look,
Believe me.
In the month of February, $223 billion in deficit, a new record. For all of 2007, it was $161 billion. Matt, there's no comparison here.
Annual deficits, now monthly deficits.
But it's just
How
worse.
scary is that?
It's just escalating, but it just keeps feeding itself.
Yeah. All right. Michelle Bachmann was on last night, and so we asked the question. There's $105 billion. They stuck into that 3,000-page Obamacare bill, where, remember, Republicans wanted to repeal it. If they couldn't repeal it, they were going to defund it. Seems like the Democrats snuck in the funding when nobody was watching to the tune of $105 billion. Watch this.
This is an enormous sum of money.
All right, so you brought this-
$105,464 million. This was tucked away inside the Obamacare bill. People say, well, what's wrong with you members of Congress? Why didn't you know it's there? It's because we didn't get the bill until literally a couple of hours before we were supposed to vote on it, and it's 2,900 pages long. I think this was intentional. I think that's why I say Obama, Reid, and Pelosi, they owe us an apology and an explanation, but they need to give the money back.
Aaron, shouldn't we? Now, here's the question Republicans face. Should they shut down the government and insist that this bill not be funded through this backdoor way that they snuck it in?
Well, from what little I've observed, and we were talking about this earlier, and again, I hate to always go back to something simple, but, things get so complicated. But, I mean, if the money's gone and they can show it, then it either needs to be given back or you got to go get it. And that's...
Matt?
That's a simple way that I look at it.
Look, this bill stinks. It was done in a horrible process. It wasn't regular order. What she's referring to is they both authorized this $105 billion and they appropriated it. So there's not an easy way to go back and get that money. Now, I do think about half of this money, there were public debates on, on these very programs that were funded. But, she's exactly right that, I mean, the way they passed this bill is why the American people are still opposed to it and why Obama's in the problem.
But they do have power because they were too gutless to pass a budget. And the power is, we only have 2 weeks, well, a week and a half now, until the government is on shutdown again. So why don't they demand that this go through the proper channels of appropriation?
That is the bigger issue here. I don't care if it was about parking meters. The point that Aaron made, transparency in our country and our government is what makes democracy work. We're on a slippery slope, and I've said it before, and I hate to have to say this as a Democrat, but there's a lot of Chicago way going on, the way this bill was jammed down the country's throat. And I keep saying it's like Kansas, Nebraska. The country hasn't gotten used to it. But by the way, the real test is, why aren't the Democrats saying something about it? And more importantly, what is the Republican leadership? They won't touch the issue. It is inside. It's inside the Beltway, basically. The political class saying, we're going to do what we want, and the public be damned.
Should the Republicans use their power for continuing resolution to insist that this money be given back and then go through the proper appropriations?
Well, they already did pass a bill to repeal the Obama health care law, so they are doing things.
No, if they're serious and they have to deal with this, you can't do the one and not do the other.
Deal with
and the leadership is showing no interest, and this is my problem with the political class, and that's my test tonight.
I gotta be honest,
where are the Republicans?
If they don't deal with this, where are the
leaders?
Republicans on gas prices?
Yeah.
I would like to see them cut now all of their proposed cuts. I'd like to see them deal with all the deficits and entitlements. Your thoughts?
Well, I think, listen, I'm a person that is all about, creating awareness. And I mean, if there's an issue going on out there and it isn't right, I mean, Republican or Democrat, you got to step up to that plate.
We're broke. We're broke $14 trillion in debt.
Yeah.
Well, and we're not going to solve it by being a third world banana republic either.
That's right, but let's give credit where credit's due. $61 billion in cuts coming with Republicans in Congress leading, a repeal of Obama health care. That party's taken on these big issues, and you're right, they've got to keep doing it.
But nobody's taking on entitlements.
Good to see all of you. Thank you for being here.
Hey,
that's all the time we have left. Let not your heart be troubled. Greta and Jimmy McMillan go on the record next. See you tomorrow night.